Hi, and welcome to Amber Data. My name is Taylor, and in this video, we're going to be exploring our starter repo, which is everything you need to get started developing quality dApps using Vue, Truffle, Web3.js, and of course, our very own Web3 Data.js package. So let's get started. We're going to be living in the console for part of this tutorial. We're going to start by cloning the repo, the Vue Truffle starter repo. This will assume that you've already forked it. I'm going to clone it directly from the repo that I've been working with here. Great. Now we're just going to change directory, install the dependencies, great. Now all the dependencies have been installed, and as you notice, the last thing that was ran was the post install script from another package that we've developed, Web3 Data Deploy. It comes pre-packaged with our Vue starter repo. Perfect. So now that everything's installed, we're able to run the website locally. I'm going to do that now. We just run the command npm start. This will set up a local server and serve it from your file system so you're able to view it in the browser. In a second, it will automatically open at localhost. Great. From here, we'll switch over to our browser. And here we have the starter repo. This is what it looks like when you run it locally. I'm going to quickly highlight some of the key parts of our starter repo that we've built in, enabling you to use this as an example when building out your dApp. The first thing I want you to notice here is it says connect account. This will change to your address once you sign into MetaMask. I'm going to do that now just to show you what it looks like. For security purposes, you won't be able to see me signing into MetaMask, but just trust that I am doing so. As you can see, it has changed to the account address. A nifty little feature, if we click this, would actually take us to our Amber Data site where we can see details about this address. Since this account is just created, there's yet to be information about this address. We'll close this for now. These 3 steps give you everything you need in order to get set up to start using our Web3 Data.js package in order to talk with our backend servers. This page shows us how we can integrate W3 Data.js package into our front-end UI. For instance, in this box here, we can place an address and then call one of these 4 endpoints for information, statistics, logs, or a list of transactions pertaining to this address. If we were to do this now, we'd most likely get an unauthenticated error as we have not set up our API keys yet. Let's do that now. Next, I'm going to hit Control-C to quit the run. Now I'm going to clear my screen. We're going to assume that you already have an API key. If you don't, you can pause the video now, go read a blog post, watch one of our videos on how to obtain one. From here, it's very straightforward. All we need is a .env file with the key being Amber Data API key and the value being your API key that you will get from the website. All right, so the command is really simple. We're just going to echo. I'm going to paste my API key, my fake API key, and we're going to put that into a .env file like so. Now if I list my files, you'll see a .env file with my Amber Data API key. Boom. Now automatically, which I will show you later, in the starter repo, it's going to grab this using a .env package. It's a node package. We'll explain more about that later. From here, I'm going to switch to Atom, and we're going to dig into the folder structure of our starter repo. I'm going to provide a brief overview, and I mean brief. There are a lot of different tools and packages that go into building out this starter repo. For instance, you can see here, Babel, there's ESLint, Truffle. Click on here, we can see that there's Webpack going on. There's Vue.js. Some services, some tools you may be unfamiliar with. That's okay. For now, we're just going to walk through the folder structure. There's a lot of information online about Webpack, Babel, ESLint, but for now, we're just going to focus on the important things that you need to get started developing your dApp. First, I'm going to point out these grayed out folders here. If you're familiar with Atom, when it's grayed out, it just means that it's not committed to Git. It's ignored. I also wanted to point out, we can see our .env file here. This is the API key that I added, the fake API key. It's important that this is grayed out or ignored by Git, as committing this to the internet would expose your API key. Let's start up here with the build folder. I'm just going to close this. This is pretty straightforward. This is from Truffle. This is where your contract APIs will be sent as soon as you build out your contract. After running Truffle migrate or Truffle compile, this will be filled in with your contract APIs. This is the config folder. It has some configuration for different packages that are being used. Contracts folder. Again, this is a part of Truffle. This is where your smart contracts will go. The migrations folder, a part of Truffle. This is where we'll have our migration scripts. Node modules. These scripts are used for configuration and for building. You can ignore that for the most part. We have our source folder. This is the folder we'll be working in mostly. Static, we're going to place images or any type of static assets here. Tests, this will be where we'll do our unit testing, both for our smart contracts and for our front end. We have a Babel RC file. It's configuration for Babel, which transpiles JavaScript into ES6. Some ESLint configuration, our ignore file, what we want to ignore, our config file, our git ignore. Travis, this is for continuous deployment and integration. Our index HTML file, license, package lock, package JSON readme, and the Truffle.js file, which you should be familiar with. Now that we've gone through that, I wanted to show you how we're able to get the address from MetaMask into our UI. As I showed you before, once we're able to connect our MetaMask account, our address is automatically populated. For that, we're using something called Vuex. If you are unfamiliar with Vuex, I highly recommend that you look that up on the internet. Vuex is a way for us to manage state. Under our store folder is where we'll put our Vuex state management files here. For instance, in order for us to see the address auto update when someone signs into MetaMask, we click on Actions. The basic gist is we set a Web3 provider. We check to see if we can use MetaMask. This set account interval continually tries to look for an account and runs this action here called check account. So it's going to continually, every 3,000 milliseconds or 3 seconds, it's going to look to see if an account has been set. If it has been set, we're going to set the account to 0, which in MetaMask will be the first account, the one that you've signed in with. Or we'll just continually set it to null. That's how we can automatically update the UI once an account is selected. This is for when we have a contract. This action right here will be able to mount the contract API so that we're actually able to interact with that contract. And we'll talk more about this, but this is the get address function. This shows you how you can use Web3 data in our example. From here, I want to move over to our components. The components are different pieces that we use to build out our UI. So for instance, the home page is the first page that we see. This is the account pill at the top right corner of the UI in the header that has the address auto-populated. And this is the logic behind that. Again, if there's some view stuff going on here, if you're unfamiliar with that, you can always look up online how that works. But again, for now, a brief overview. Basically, what happens here is we have an account, and that is a computed value. We have a prop called address, which we input into this account pill. If the address is empty, we're going to display connect account. Otherwise, we're going to display the address. So where's this address coming from? This account pill is going to be used inside the header. As you can see right here, we provide the account or the address. Remember when we were looking at the different actions? Well, one action, which is called connect, is used inside another component, and we'll set the account to the address found in MetaMask. Once that's updated, this computed value will update and we'll have the value of the account. We add this .metamask here to check to make sure that MetaMask is enabled. Once the account has been set, this value will be the address of the MetaMask account. That will then be sent over to this component and it will update the account address in that account pill component. So this gives you a quick little overview of how you would integrate MetaMask into your Vue dApp right here. Next, I'm going to show you how we can integrate Web3 data.js to grab data from our endpoint to get fast and accurate data delivered to your dApp. Okay, cool. Here we are at the starter repo. I'm going to quickly show you what this looks like again. This is the account pill that we were looking at. It says connect account because, well, we haven't signed into MetaMask. So I'll do that again real fast. Now it automatically updates with that address, just as we looked at in the code. I'm going to hit try it now. From here, we looked at this a little bit earlier, but now we can actually get some real-time data here once we set that API key up. I'm going to hit info. It's going to request info about this address here. Then I'm going to select go. Cool. So right here, this is the data that has come back from our endpoint. I'm using a little YAML package that makes it nice and neat here in this little box. We're going to go into the code once again and look at everything it takes to make this happen right here. Here we are in Atom. This is the file that you just saw that shows the example page. All right, let's dig in here. So what's happening? First things first, here we have the template, which is our HTML that we're displaying. As you can see, we have info, statistics, logs, transactions. That's what we were just looking at. This is the input field where we're able to enter an address. That's a separate component here, but we'll ignore that for now. Here's the go button. I want to point this out. When we click the go button, it will trigger this function called get results. This is the YAML package I was mentioning, just to make everything pretty when it gets displayed. These are pieces of data that we're going to use in our component. Okay, here's the get results method that gets triggered when I click the go button. First, we want to see, hey, did we even select an option? If we haven't, then let's set that error to true, and it will turn the entire box red. Then, we're going to set the results to loading. So what this will do is it will put a loading text into the gray box until the data comes in from our endpoint. It shouldn't be there for too long. You might not even see it because our endpoints are blazing fast. Then I call this method right here called getAddress. Where did this come from? Remember, in our actions script right here, we had a function called getAddress. Using this, I'm actually able to import that method, getAddress. Also point out up here, we've imported map actions from Vuex. Again, Vuex is what we're using to manage our state. So we have this method, and we call it right here. We need two things, as it has two parameters, the query and the address. The query is specified by the options here, and the address, which for right now is our address here. We can change the address by pasting or typing into that box, but for now, it starts out with this default address because it has some interesting information. And finally, we wait. So this is an async method. We're going to wait until the results come back. Once the results come back, we're then going to set the results right here, the results value to results, and we're going to turn it into YAML so it looks nicer. When we do that, as you can see right here, we have in our template string, we have these variables which pertain to this piece of data right here. Once we set these are reactive and they will automatically update. I put it into a pre-tag because we have formatted code coming back and we don't want to apply any additional CSS to that. This vif is loading will show the is loading tag here, but if it's not loading, then we want to show the results in a pre-tag. I do that because We don't want to put the isLoading text into a pre-tag. We want it to be formatted. But once the results come back, we want to put the results from our endpoint into this pre-tag here. I'm going to go back to the actions one more time. Just wanted to point out this right here. So what we were just using was this Web3 data. We import it from the package. And down here, I'll show you again the getAddress method. So we call this method. We have two parameters, query and address, just like I showed you in the component. We instantiate a new Web3 data object. Then we have a switch statement with a query. If it's an info, we're going to call this endpoint, w3d.addresses address. So this is the address we want to query, info, and retrieve. This will initiate the HTTP request. So depending on the query, we have different endpoints that we can get. And that is a really quick and basic way to integrate Web3 data into your dApp. So you just got a very extensive overview of our starter repo and how you can use this as a dApp to integrate MetaMask and our very own Web3 data.js. Look out for other videos about our platform, and please feel free to reach out to us through social media or email. And as always, stay awesome.